Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I want to go over proprioceptive modalities with you. Now, this is found in chapter 22, and it's basically at near the end. I mean, the only thing after proprioceptive modalities is going to be, I think, fitness trackers and things like that. So, what NASM has done for you in this particular chapter is now, once you've gone through the OPT model, you understand elements of biomechanics, kinesiology, and muscle physiology, yada, yada. Now they give you the ways you're going to train people or incorporate all of that information into the actual modalities of training, right? So resistance training has multiple modalities, right? Different ways of exercising. And we can categorize these in any number of ways. And the reason why I'm hitting on this is because I've had some students ask me, they get confused, especially if you're asked a question on the NASM exam, which of the following is not considered a proprioceptive modality, or which of the following is considered a proprioceptive modality, and you'll get all the different type of exercises or ways of training. So I just want to ensure that you're not confused. And look, obviously, you can just memorize that basically you're dealing with these type of modalities of training. So the BOSU ball, stability ball, these are the things that they're going to go over with you. And it's a good idea to make sure that you know the difference between, using a stability ball, for instance, versus just backtrack a little bit, the battle ropes. The confusion generally, and not always, but the confusion generally comes about with this idea that proprioception, or the concept of proprioceptive training, must always involve core training, right? Because proprioception has more to do with sort of balance training than it does with anything else. Not that you can't do strength, strength and other training components in your programming, but the idea is that the modality or the piece of equipment or the way you use a piece of equipment tends to get connected to the core, right? So you might think that if I'm training my core or an exercise involves heavy use of stabilization in the midsection, it must be a proprioceptive modality. And so that confusion can be easily alleviated when you read through this and make this separation. Now, again, just kind of as a prelim, if you start at the beginning of chapter 22, it's the introduction to exercise modalities. It gives you all of the, different ways to train resistance training modalities, right? So free weights, machines, and you go through this. I don't think if you've been in the game for any period of time, you would be uncomfortable learning or understanding these different modalities of training. So strength machines, resistance training, cables, right? Excellent elastic resistance, or bands, rubber bands, and medicine balls, and right, all of these. And you might get confused because you look at a medicine ball, just as a, for instance, that's why I'm flipping through this, and you might say, well, doesn't that demand balance? Doesn't that demand proprioception? And the answer is yes, every exercise demands some level of balance and some level of proprioception. Absolutely. The point here is that as you get through kettlebells, as you get through the chapter and you get to this one of the last parts on page 745, introduction to proprioceptive modalities, now you're looking at those ways of training, those pieces of equipment like the stability ball and the BOSU ball. Now you're looking at this equipment whose sort of main function, again, not that you can't do heavy dumbbell chest presses on a stability ball. Of course you can. You can do a lot of different things with any of this equipment, but sort of the intrinsic nature of the BOSU ball or the stability ball has at its root this idea that there's a high level of proprioception necessary. So I hope that kind of clears it up. And NASM tells you proprioception is the ability to sense you can Google the definition, body position and limb movements, and it's an important component of balance. And the way I learned it, decades and decades ago, was that proprioception is, in its simplest explanation, the ability to know where you're at. your limbs, your body, movements, things like that in time and space. So if I close my eyes, right? Close my eyes, I know that my hand is over there. It's not over here, right? I don't have to look at it. I know where it's at. Why? Because of what we call proprioception. Well, you have what are known as proprioceptors, and I believe that they spoke to it a little bit, in some of the previous chapters. So the nerve cells, or excuse me, nerves that are located in the limbs and the muscles all around your body, nerves are providing information to your noggin, to your brain, that the limb is moving or it's not moving. The limb is moving this direction or this direction. There's a constant feedback mechanism or feedback mechanisms that allow you to know where everything's located, right? And of course, disruptions to these senses can be exceptionally debilitating. But so proprioceptive modalities, a fundamental component of proprioception or the use of these proprioceptive modalities is it's the ability to maintain postural control or balance. So here you are in the OPT model, right? Balance and stabilization. First thing we have to help people develop is balance and stabilization. That could take 2 workouts. It could take 20 workouts in some cases before you move folks on to that next level, right? So it reduces when you do this, you're able to reduce injury or at least the risk of injury and increase performance measures. We know that athletes in general, if we can increase their overall proprioceptive capabilities, i.e., the ability to know where they're at and balancing. Think of a running back, for instance, who's trying to make it past uh, the defensive line and then the secondary defense on a football game, right? And he's got the ball and he's able to swerve and maneuver. A lot of that is proprioception, right? The ability to understand the balancing nature of his body and where he's at and what he needs to do to ensure that he doesn't fall over while still maneuvering. So all of that has at its root the concept of proprioception. When it comes to the modalities, we're really talking about just a couple of pieces of equipment. And again, want to make sure you understand battle ropes, and it's right on this same page. Battle ropes is not a proprioceptive modality. Battle ropes are a great way to do other things, A, B, C, and D. But from a purely proprioceptive, balance focused modality, you're looking at the ones that they're going to talk about. So hopefully that makes sense. A basic understanding of proprioception, the ability to basically know where your body is in time and space and your limbs and speed at which they're moving, yada, yada, yada. Those things are critically important. So balance and stability training using a variety of these different modalities can be an effective strategy for optimizing movement patterns, joint stability, and performance. Remember, more and more you are going to be seeing folks with injuries, musculoskeletal injuries and problems. More and more people that you see coming to you for personal fitness training have seen doctors, they've been to physical therapists, they've been to chiropractors. In a sense, our job is to kind of move and help them into higher levels of physical output or physical performance. And one of the best ways to do that, even for the highest level functioning athletes, is to always have some proprioceptive training involved. I've gone, to great lengths in some cases with high level athletes, having them do exercises or do movement patterns with their eyes closed, right? Because they're so high level. The only way it can eke out higher levels of performance is to totally throw them off from a vestibular perspective by having them close their eyes and do certain things. It can be very effective. They can also fall and hurt themselves. But the point is that proprioceptive modalities can provide this additional help and assistance. And so stability balls, of course, and you got table 22-3, using the right size ball. Absolutely. From a testing perspective, table 22.4 is probably a good one to know, especially the proper use of the stability ball. But again, it's not a lot to memorize. But this is one of those areas in the NASM textbook that you are definitely going to use, I would hope, or have as your bag of tricks in the real world. And then, of course, they give you page 748, a couple of basic exercises, movements that you can do with them. There's a ton of varieties or varietals that you can use with. This is the stability ball. It's good to have one. Have one at home so you can use it all the time. Bosu balls are by far one of my favorite pieces of equipment. And so they're giving you some exercise and opportunities here. And then they come to the piece of equipment that you may have never seen unless you're really into fitness equipment, what's known as the Terra Core. The benefit of this, I will say that the benefit, one of the best reasons to have this piece of equipment is because it's essentially a Bosu ball that's been elongated, is really basically what it is. So it's comprised of an inflatable rubber bladder and hard surface backing. It's a Bosu. If you look at the Bosu is a great piece of equipment, and the Bosu basically came from the concept of the stability ball. Stability ball, great piece of equipment, but some limitations. Well, slice it in half, boom, hard bottom. Now it doesn't move, and now I can do all the half dome stuff. Great. Well, the problem with that though is if I'm doing push-ups, like I like to do push-ups on the Bosu with the flat side up and the dome side down for the stabilization, but my hands can only go this wide, right? The diameter of the Bosu. It's a limitation. Wouldn't it be great if I had a Bosu that was this long? Because then I can do wide push-ups holding on to it. Well, the problem, of course, with that, if I'm using a Bosu, the diameter would be this huge Bosu. Well, obviously, we can change that now by creating what's known as the Terra Core. Highly recommend if you've never tried it. If your gym has one, go ahead and give it a shot. It's really a great piece of equipment. And boy, does it force you to do, it's basically the same thing that a Bosu does, but it really forces you to develop balancing techniques. So again, it's a rubber bladder, hard backed surface. Its rectangular shape provides a larger overall footprint. So that's the idea, is that it measures, for 45 inches long, yada, yada. So again, and they tell you it's similar to the stability or Bosu. When you place your hands and body weight on the device, displaced air inside the bladder provides what are known as perturbations. Okay. So, and you can see that definition there. But the idea is once again, in this little section, they're basically giving you the three main pieces of equipment that are really designed more than anything else to emphasize balance and stabilization. Now, we do that, of course, by either using it with just body weight movements, right? You can do push-ups with your hands on the ball or the Bosu or the Terracore. You can do it with your feet on there, and that's going to develop some different some differences in balance. The point is that when you think of proprioception, always think of the ability to know where your limbs are at, balancing your body, not only bilaterally, right? But also forward, backward, right? Those are some of the things that we are considering when we look at proprioception and then the use of proprioceptive modalities. I've done full workouts with just the stability ball. In other words, I would substitute the stability ball wherever I was using a flat bench. And I did that for generally beginner clients, right? To just literally sit on the. Now that develops some balance. That really is a very effective. And then, of course, the Bosu being used for, and they show it to you, these sit-ups, crunches that you can use there. So, point is that it's a great way to add some interest and provide some incredibly important balance training for your clients. And like I say, I've used it for beginners all the way up to elite, very high performance athletes as well. I hope this was helpful. Let us know by putting the word understand in the comment section, and make sure that you for sure go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Let us know how we can be of assistance in helping you to pass your NASM exam. Have a great week. See you.